What if the thing you fear most isn't what's holding you back, but how you respond to that fear? The Stoics discovered this paradox centuries ago. Look around you. The modern world seems designed to amplify our fears. Social media bombards us with threats, news cycles capitalize on anxiety, and our minds have become expert catastrophizers. We've developed countless methods to suppress these fears: distraction, avoidance, medication, yet they persist, lurking beneath the surface, silently dictating our choices. For over 2,000 years, Stoic philosophers have offered a radically different approach. While modern self-help often suggests eliminating fear, the Stoics recognized a profound truth: fear itself isn't the enemy. It's our relationship with fear that determines whether it constrains or propels us. Today, we'll explore how Stoic wisdom provides a framework not for conquering fear, but for transforming it from an adversary into a powerful ally. This isn't about becoming fearless, it's about building a relationship with fear that serves rather than sabotages you. What the Stoics understood, and what neuroscience now confirms, is that fear isn't a personal failing, it's biological machinery designed for your survival. The question isn't whether you'll experience fear, but whether you'll allow it to be your master or your messenger. Fear exists for good reason. It's kept our species alive. That surge of adrenaline when you sense danger, the heightened awareness when you hear an unexpected sound at night, these responses have evolutionary value. Yet in our modern world, this ancient survival mechanism often misfires. Our brains can't easily distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and public speaking, between physical danger and potential embarrassment. The amygdala, our brain's threat detection center, triggers the same physiological response regardless of whether the threat is to our body or merely to our ego. This creates a painful paradox. The very mechanism designed to protect us begins to diminish our lives. We avoid difficult conversations, we pass on career opportunities, we stay in unfulfilling relationships. All because our fear response incorrectly categorizes growth opportunities as threats. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most prominent voices, captured this dilemma perfectly. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. How many hours have you spent anxiously anticipating scenarios that never materialized? How often has your mind constructed elaborate disaster narratives around simple actions? Asking for a raise, expressing a conflicting opinion, pursuing a romantic interest. The cost of this misalignment is staggering. Studies suggest that nearly 40% of our worries never materialize, while another 30% concern past events beyond our control. We're spending 70% of our anxiety on matters disconnected from present reality, but there's a deeper cost. When we habitually avoid what frightens us, we internalize a devastating message: that we cannot handle life's challenges. Each avoidance reinforces neural pathways of retreat, making the next avoidance more likely. Over time, our world shrinks as we systematically eliminate activities, relationships, and opportunities that trigger discomfort. The cruel irony is that in attempting to protect ourselves from pain, we create a different kind of suffering, the quiet anguish of an unlived life. As Marcus Aurelius warned, it is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Modern society compounds this problem by promoting comfort as the ultimate goal. Convenience-oriented technology, on-demand everything, and endless entertainment options make it easier than ever to avoid discomfort. The message is clear: if something feels unpleasant, eliminate it, but the Stoics recognized a fundamental truth. A life oriented around comfort becomes increasingly uncomfortable. When we optimize for ease, we atrophy our capacity to handle difficulty. Like muscles that weaken without resistance, our psychological resilience diminishes without challenge. This leaves us increasingly vulnerable, creating a vicious cycle. Increased vulnerability leads to increased fear, which leads to increased avoidance, which further diminishes our capacity, creating even greater vulnerability. The Stoic approach offers a powerful alternative: not eliminating fear, but changing our relationship with it. This begins with a critical distinction between what the Stoics called externals and internals. Epictetus articulated this foundational principle: some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. This distinction revolutionizes our relationship with fear. When we clearly see what we can and cannot control, we stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable and focus entirely on our response. The one thing always within our power, fear itself, isn't within your control. It arrives uninvited. But your judgment about that fear, your response to it, your actions in its presence, these remain yours to determine. This shift from focusing on eliminating fear to focusing on acting despite fear is liberating, as Epictetus taught. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring fear. The Stoics weren't advocating emotional repression, but rather emotional intelligence. They understood that fear, when properly engaged, contains valuable information. Fear of public speaking isn't your enemy, it's highlighting an opportunity for growth. Fear of commitment isn't a barrier, it's illuminating important values you hold about relationships. The Stoics practiced what modern psychology calls cognitive distancing, the ability to observe thoughts without being dominated by them. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Today I escaped anxiety," or "No, I discarded it because it was within me in my own perceptions, not outside." This represents a profound shift from our default relationship with fear. Instead of being consumed by fearful thoughts, we learn to observe them with curious detachment. "I'm having the thought that I'll fail" becomes fundamentally different from "I'm going to fail." The Stoics understood courage not as the absence of fear, but as action in the presence of fear. Seneca wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This reframing transforms courage from a rare, dramatic quality possessed by heroes into a practical daily choice available to anyone willing to act despite discomfort. This creates a revolutionary possibility. That fear can become not just an obstacle to overcome, but a compass showing us precisely where growth awaits. The very things we fear most often mark the path to our greatest development, so how do we translate this ancient wisdom into practical action? The Stoics left us with concrete practices that remain remarkably effective today. First, name your fears specifically. Vague anxiety creates a fog that's impossible to engage with productively. "I'm afraid of failing" lacks the specificity needed for action. "I'm afraid my business proposal will be rejected and colleagues will lose respect for me" gives you something concrete to work with. The Stoics practiced this through journaling, specifically naming what they feared and examining it objectively. Try this exercise. Write down a specific fear, then ask, "What's the worst that could reasonably happen? Could I survive that outcome? What resources, internal and external, do I have to handle it?" This practice, similar to modern cognitive behavioral therapy, helps calibrate our often exaggerated sense of risk. Second, practice deliberate exposure. The Stoics advocated voluntary discomfort as a way to build resilience. Seneca recommended periods of practicing poverty, sleeping on a hard mattress, wearing simple clothes, eating plain food, not as punishment but as preparation. Set aside certain days on which you resign yourself to the plainest food and the roughest dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this what I feared?" You might begin with small exposures to what frightens you. If social rejection terrifies you, practice asking for small things you expect to be denied. If public speaking paralyzes you, start by speaking up more in meetings. Each exposure weakens fear's grip while strengthening your confidence. Third, establish a morning routine that builds momentum. The Stoics emphasized morning practices that prepare the mind for daily challenges. Marcus Aurelius began his days reminding himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This wasn't pessimism but preparation. By anticipating difficulties, he prepared himself to respond virtuously rather than reactively. Consider starting your day by imagining potential obstacles and mentally rehearsing how you'll respond with courage rather than avoidance. Fourth, use physical movement to break emotional paralysis. When fear freezes us, physical action can break its spell. This aligns with the Stoic emphasis on practical action over rumination. Something as simple as standing up straighter, going for a walk, or changing your environment can interrupt fear's momentum. Finally, end each day with reflection. Ask yourself, what uncomfortable action did I take today? What fear did I face? The Stoics practiced evening review, celebrating progress and identifying improvements for tomorrow. Every small victory over fear becomes evidence that builds your confidence for greater challenges. Remember that courage builds incrementally. Don't expect to eliminate your biggest fears immediately. Start with what the Stoics would call preferred indifference, matters that have value but don't determine your character or happiness. As your capacity grows, gradually approach more significant fears. The Stoic approach to fear isn't about becoming fearless, it's about becoming fear-capable. It's recognizing that while fear will always be part of the human experience, it need not dictate your choices or limit your life. What the Stoics understood millennia ago applies perfectly to our anxiety-saturated modern world. Freedom isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to choose your response to it. As Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Every time you act despite fear, you reclaim a piece of your agency. You demonstrate to yourself that while fear may arise within you, it doesn't define you. You have the capacity to feel afraid and still advance toward what matters. This is the ultimate Stoic lesson about fear. That a meaningful life isn't built by eliminating discomfort, but by pursuing purpose despite it. The question isn't whether you'll experience fear, but whether that fear will determine your boundaries or merely mark the territory where your growth begins. As you move forward, remember that today can be the day you stop allowing fear to dictate your choices. Not by eliminating fear, but by walking alongside it as you move toward the life you want to create. What small fear will you face today? Share in the comments one specific action you'll take this week to practice courage. Let's build this Stoic strength together.